Hi guys, this is Mrs. Allison. I thought I would show you some tutorials on factoring, just so you could have them all. We are going to start by assuming you know that the primary way to factor is using GCF. We always want to start with our greatest common factor. But for these next couple tutorials, I'm not going to use the GCF. I'm just going to remind you of how to factor various problems. So after greatest common factor, we looked at trinomials. Remember, trinomial means three terms with a leading coefficient of 1. So the problem you see on the screen says x squared plus 4x minus 60. This would be a trinomial because there are three terms, and the number in front of x squared, called the leading coefficient, is 1. And remember, when we factor trinomials with a leading coefficient of 1, we use the diamond. Some people don't, but most of us do. So I'm going to draw a diamond over here. And remember, when we use the diamond, when a is equal to 1, we take our c term, in this case it's negative 60, and we take our b term, which is 4x, or just 4, and we put it here in our diamond. So remember, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 60, and those same two numbers need to add to 4. So I think it's best to start out with your factors of 60. And so remember, factors are numbers that multiply to give us 60. So we have 1 and 60, but 1 and 60 can't add to 4. We have 2 and 30. We have 3 and 20. And I like to make a systematic list, starting with the smallest numbers I can. We have 4 and 15. We have 5 and 12. We have 6 and 10. And that's all our factors. So there are factors. Now, remember, in order to multiply to a negative 60, we need at least one of our factors to be negative. But I want those same two numbers to add to be 4. So I'm going to choose the one where the grouping could potentially give me 4 when I change the signs. So that's going to be a 6 and a 10. Okay? Well, one of those needs to be negative because 6 times 10 is not negative 60. I want the 10 to be positive and the 6 to be negative because I want negative 6 plus 10 adds to 4. So when the leading coefficient is greater or is equal to 1, these two numbers that I just came up with are what go into my parentheses. So the answer to this is x minus 6, x plus 10. Remember, we could always check our work by re-multiplying these two binomials together. X times x, we get x squared. X times 10, we get 10x. Negative 6 times x, negative 6 times x is negative 6x, and negative 6 times 10 is negative 60. When I combine like terms, I get x squared plus 4x minus 60. So I know I've done it correctly because I'm back to the original problem that I started with. So my answer is x minus 6, x plus 10. All right. Let's try one more problem. Okay, so let's try this problem. I need to make a change. I don't know why this says v. So I have the problem x squared minus 5x minus 14. So remember, the leading coefficient is 1. There is no greatest common factor, so I'm going to make my diamond. Up top in my diamond, I'm going to start with a negative 14. So I need two numbers that multiply to negative 14. I need those same two numbers to add to negative 5. So if I list my factors, and you do not have to list them every time, but I find that it can help, of 14, I have 1 and 14, 2 and 7. Pretty straightforward than when there are only two factors. So my factors are going to be 2 and 7, but the problem is I need one of those to be negative because 2 times 7 is not negative 14. It's positive. So in order to multiply to a negative, one of them needs to be negative. So I'm going to choose my 7 to be negative this time so that 2 minus 7 is negative 5. So I take those two factors and I put them in my parentheses. And there is my answer. And again, you could check it using either the double distribute or the box or FOIL method to check your answers on this. Hopefully that helps with the coefficient of A equals to 1. Check out some of the other videos to see some more tutorials.